Every family has a story.
From the funny to the messy to the meaningful.
This is where we share ours.
Welcome to Gathered in the Higham House. Welcome to Gathered in the Higham House, a podcast where faith meets family and real life happens. This is our space to share stories, celebrate traditions, and talk about the ups and downs of family life. From holiday memories and parenting wins to lessons learned through laughter, tears, and faith, we're inviting you to pull up a chair and join us at the table.
So, what is your favorite food of all time? It can be something that we make here at the house, or it could be something at a restaurant. If you could have just one thing.
I like seafood, and I like scallops especially, but I don't know that I could eat it every day. I just really like it. That's
I
a special.
could eat it one day.
No, that's probably my favorite thing to eat.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I thought of this question and I thought I had an answer, but I don't have an answer now. I would say I couldn't eat it every day, but like lately, the steak game has been good.
We've been doing a good job with
the steak
lately.
has been solid.
Yeah.
And I do love our chicken. Our infamous sesame chicken, grilled chicken. I love it.
Good.
And everybody who comes and eats it loves it.
Okay,
so
good.
that would be it. Restaurant.
Oh, I didn't realize we were doing restaurant.
Yeah. What would be your restaurant?
Ooh.
I'm hands down Chick-fil-A.
Oh,
Like, I'm going to make it easy. It's Chick-fil-A.
Wow. Chain or just
You
restaurant?
could do chain or you could do restaurant.
Oh, gosh. We've had so many new ones here that I can't pick one.
I know.
In general, I would say before moving to Cleveland, because we had few choices, Longhorn was our favorite.
That is true.
But now that we've moved here, there are so many different yummy choices. And I'm really loving like the Mediterranean style, sort of like Chipotle, but it's Mediterranean.
Yeah.
So I'm really enjoying that.
Something
lately.
we definitely did not have
No,
in West Virginia.
Not at all.
Mediterranean and West Virginia aren't two things that go together.
Nope.
So, yeah, I'm going with Chick-fil-A. I'm just sticking with that because I've yet to go to Chick-fil-A and not have like Chick-fil-A is like standard. Like wherever you go, it's generally still Chick-fil-A. So I'm just keeping it easy, staying Chick-fil-A, spicy chicken sandwich, Cobb salad.
But I also like the local restaurants that are just owned by like one family, and they, do their whatever their
Unique
specialty
special
is
thing. Yep.
well, and that has been fun to explore.
I don't know that I found that yet here.
I don't think we have our favorite because we've tried a lot of them, and there's a lot that we really like.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we have our favorite.
Yeah. Nope. Not yet. Well, it's episode 2. And so welcome. This is Gathered in the Higham House. And my name is Jay. And sitting with me at the table is my amazing, beautiful wife, Amy.
Hello.
And on this episode, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about family. Because the whole concept of this podcast is that we are discussing topics of family and faith. We're sharing stories, all with the hopes of encouraging the family. And so it just, for me, makes good sense that if we're going to have a podcast where we talk about family, it's probably a good idea to actually start with, as we think about family, what is a family? So our topic for this episode is family. Not necessarily our family, because we kind of introduced you a little bit to our family in the first episode. This is more just like, why is family so important to us? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
You looked like you were going to say something. So that's why I was like,
no.
So we're not doing this on video yet. So we can have exchanges of looks. And I thought you were going to say something. Okay, so if that's our topic, family, I think a good place for us to start is maybe with our own personal experience with family. And so let's take a trip down memory lane. Let's go back to when we were kids. What were some of the things, some of the moments, some of the memories that you have of family life, and maybe what were some of those things that were imprinted upon you that when you were able to have a family, you were like, this is what family means to me. This is why it's important.
Yeah. I would say that growing up, our family made church was a priority, and we went a lot. We went pretty faithfully every Sunday, and were involved in various ways. And that, I don't know, I just think some of my sweetest memories with my family were at church. And I can't really pick out anything specific other than just being involved in, like, I don't know, the Christmas pageants and just the core memories that they created for me of love and grace and safety and, all that kind of stuff. And I would say for me too, what was really important is extended family, like cousins and that kind of stuff. And the memories we made with them, the vacations we went on are just highlights of my childhood. And so, that I didn't grow up in a big family per se, typical 3 kids, mom and dad.
You had the almost perfect nuclear family, the husband, wife, 2 point whatever kids it used to be.
Right.
Which really said 3. Yeah. And I think too, I think it's safe to say that for both of our families, and I'll get into my memories in just a second, but we both come from families where our parents were together. Like that was a huge part. And we can talk more about that, but I think that's a significant thing there. I think for me, obviously the church was a big part of us growing up. We were like you guys, we were at the church a lot. And I love when I do tell
I think you were there more than we were, but
when I tell my story, I often say, we were at the church most when it was open and when it was closed because my parents were the custodians. And so we were often there cleaning. But it felt like we were there a lot. But my parents were very involved in the church. And I know for me that was a key, like, moment of influence for me, like knowing that, being part of the church, serving in the church and all that good stuff. I think for me, we come from a larger family, so there were 4 of us. And I know as we were prepping for the episode, like it's
funny that like you think that my family with 3 kids,
I know,
your family with 4 kids, yours is large.
One more
and mine's
kid,
not.
Almost large. Yeah, but I remember as a family of 6 of us walking into a restaurant and being like, "There's 6 of us," and getting looks. And 4 is not like a big family.
No.
But as we prep for the episode, I'm like, I honestly, and I'm sure my brother and my mom could be like, oh, so and such and such. Like, but I honestly cannot remember a family who had more than three kids in their family. So coming from a family of 4, I know a family. It just came to me, but I'm not going to say it because we're not going to give any names away because they lost a kid. That's the only family. I know. Let's just move on. But 4 was a big family for us. I think the other thing that made it is a big family was that we lived in a small house. We were a big family in a small house. But as a big family, like I remember, gosh, we spent most of our summers in Lancaster, PA, camping and being in that area. And, summer after summer, just being in that space. And, those were sweet memories. Those were sweet times. I loved being in that space. I loved that we went camping. I loved sitting by the campfire. But we also did like the beach and things like that. But the campground really became that place for us that we spent a lot of time as a family.
I think for us it was the beach.
The beach, yeah. You guys were definitely
beach all the time.
Yeah, y'all were beach folk. We were mountain people. We were going camping. I think the other thing that for me, when I think about family and the importance of family, not only were we a big family, but larger family than 3. I think for us was my involvement with the parents in the church, the fact that we were a family unit, and I completely forgot the next thing I was going to say about that.
I don't know.
I completely forgot.
I was actually thinking as you were talking, another thing for my family is we belonged to a neighborhood pool in the summer.
Oh, yeah.
And that we did a lot with families there. And every Saturday morning we were all on the swim team, and we would get up super early, and my dad would get his coffee, and we would stop at McDonald's and get our breakfast and, go to the swim meet or get the donuts. Now looking back, I'm like, yeah, we got donuts and then we went and swam.
Yeah.
Like, not good.
Donuts,
but,
McDonald's, and swam.
Right, I know. But
those are winning combinations.
But I do
right there.
think that this being at the pool was like gave us a whole different community that was filled with lots of sweet memories.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, bottom line for me, I just knew as a kid, I wanted a family, and I wanted to have a fun family, and I was open to the idea of a big family. And so that was just solidified for me, just growing up. So family is has always just been a big deal. So as we kind of talked about our family in the first episode, I made the comment that one of the things that attracted me to you was the fact that you wanted a large family, or at least a lot of kids. Like, we were both open to having a larger family. So as you think about, when we started our relationship, or even before we started, like, what were some of the hopes that you had for what became our family? What were some of the hopes you had?
Yeah, I think I shared in the first episode too that my aunt and uncle had 5 children, and their house was always fun to go to. It was always laughter and goofiness and honesty, and I loved that. There was always somebody to play with there, which I always loved too, and I think I wanted that. And they had their share of hard things too, but it was wonderful we looked forward to going there just because it was a fun place. There was lots of goofiness and silliness, and yet Jesus was definitely there. And you knew that when you walked in the door, you knew that you were loved well. And I wanted to create that and not that my family didn't. I don't want to say that, because I do feel that there too, but they just had a lot more kids. And I always knew I wanted more than 3 for sure.
Yeah. And I think for me, one of the big hopes is that we would have a church that would be kind of centered on or maybe we should say it this way, a family that was founded on the rock of the church. Like, because we grew up with church being a high priority for us, like, I wanted to make sure that our kids, as we raised our family, that church was a high priority. And obviously that leads to faith being a high priority, but involvement in church, and that means sometimes you're saying no to certain things because you're saying yes to church. And as you're trying to set certain examples for your kids, that's, part of it. But I always just kind of saw and had the hope that we would be a family that was centered around the life of the church and what the church was doing, and how we could be serving in the church, how we could be a part of that community. And, our story takes us to multiple churches where we've been a part of that. But for me, this knowing that faith was central, that was one of the hopes that we had. And even as a kid, traditions, and we're going to talk about traditions in a future episode, but growing up, like, we just had certain things that we did as a family, and I just remember what those things felt like. And as I thought about the family that I wanted to have, I just wanted certain traditions. I wanted us to have certain things that the kids always look forward to, and we were always experiencing, having fun with. So I think faith and I think tradition were 2 of those things early on that I was like, these are my hopes for our family, that we can have these 2 things.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. So if we talk about family, what are some of the things that maybe we would say as a family we did well for the family? So, and we had a hard time planning this out, because we started talking about this when we were talking about the difference between family and parenting. So as we answer this, I want us to be thinking like, we did well as a family, not us as parents, because we'll get into that in another episode. But what do you think are some of the things that we did well as a family? Let me go first?
Yes.
Okay, I'll go first this time. So I'm just going to say vacations. We just talked about this. I think we did well to set aside time on a regular basis for us as a family to go and do something fun. And I know for many years it was going to the beach. It was spending time on the sand, playing in the water. And those things are great. But I think some of the things that we did well at was creating memories with and for our kids. And so we just talked about the idea of taking our kids to a particular pier in Ocean City and dropping raw chicken in the ground into the water and then catching crabs that we later took home and ate.
Yeah.
Like those memories of the kids, trying to catch crab and like hearing, Nate say, bring the net because I got one, and then one of the boys is running down the pier or Logan's doing his thing and he's like, I've got one. And, we're running the net the other direction. Like those things are fun. And then when they fell out of the net and they were scurrying along the pier and Nate's trying to grab them without getting pinched, like,
yeah,
those are moments.
Yeah.
And then you've got the other kids giggling and laughing and howling because it's funny. So I think we did the idea of creating memories. I think we've done that well. That's one of the first things that comes to my mind.
I think we've talked about our faith well with our kids. I feel like we, not perfect by any means, but I feel like we created spaces where they were free to ask questions,
Right.
And to explore what faith means, and we didn't do it in a traditional like sit down around the table because that always ended up being a nightmare. When we would open up the Bible, somebody would hit somebody and then it would be, whatever. So we learned very early that for us as a family, it was more of how can we create spaces where they feel safe to have honest and open conversations. And I think we tried to do that well to the best of our ability.
Yeah.
Not just about faith, about anything.
But anything, yeah. Well, I mean, the idea of the podcast being gathered, and we're using the idea of a table like that. We talked about last time, like it was a space where we created, but it wasn't just the table. It was car rides, whether we're taking them to school, going shopping, or making a road trip to visit family. Like opportunities presented themselves, and I think we were always on the look for how to use those opportunities and exploit them in the right way. So like driving somewhere and a particular song comes on the radio and it's a faith-based song, it's a Christian song, and the question is, what is this song saying? And then allowing the kids to kind of give that, well, is it this, is it saying this, or oh, it's telling us that we need to do this, but then having that opportunity to go back, like there's that Casting Crown song that's all about Peter, and I was like, guys, what is this song all about? Who is he talking about? And the chance for us to kind of, this is Peter, and this is what Peter's relationship with Jesus was like, and this is Jesus constantly coming back to Peter and being like, it's okay, I love you. And I was like, those moments there are the moments that we kind of said, okay, we may not be able to do things in the traditional sense of like, bottom line, we sucked at family devotions.
Sitting around the fire with campfire songs. Like we did not do that well.
But when we saw those moments come up, we were able to say, okay, let's talk about this. What else? Anything else that you think we've done well as a family unit?
I think that we were pretty intentional about owning our calendar, like not allowing the kids to be involved in so many things that we were overwhelmed. We definitely tried to set aside certain nights of the week where the best of our ability that we didn't do anything, we didn't go anywhere. And there were different seasons that worked well and different seasons that it didn't. But I think for the most part, we did not allow our kids to be involved in 15 million things. No. Like we just said, there's a lot of you, pick one thing, and not all of them could do one thing. Like we didn't have 5 different schedules that we were managing. We said, okay, this season, you're going to pick this sport or whatever.
Right.
I think we managed that well. And so that gave us freedom to do the simple things like play in the backyard and go on a hike and go fishing, even though really funny, our boys didn't love it when they were little, and now they like are obsessed with fishing. But yeah. Yeah. So just, I think when you like recognize that you do not have to be busy all the time with outside stuff, that there is so much joy and simple fun that can be found and memories that can be made at home with your kids, that it doesn't have to be planned, organized, whatever, in a group outside of your home. I feel like that is something that too many people do now. But that's my soapbox. So.
Yeah, that's both our soapboxes. Yeah. And I would say one more thing that I think we did well is we did make church a priority. Like, I know that was my hope.
Yeah.
But I feel like that was something that we said, this is important.
Yeah.
And we want you to know. And by church, what we mean is passing on our faith to our kids.
Right.
Like, not just showing up at church because it was Sunday and the doors are open and we need to be there.
Right.
Because it's a social obligation. Like, church for us was the extension of our faith.
It was worship. We believe that God deserves to be worshiped, and we modeled that as best as we could to our kids, that nothing should be above him.
Yeah.
And our kids were good athletes, and that was hard.
That was hard
during certain seasons, because would we have loved to have had them selfishly on the travel teams where they would have excelled and blah blah blah, but to what end? Like, that's, I think we had wise counsel early on, and I'm grateful that looking back that we did that, because I feel like their faith, they learned that worship was more important, that God was more important than whether they were the awesome pitcher on the baseball team. Yeah.
Yeah. Or the guy on the basketball team, or the lacrosse guy, or like
and they didn't understand it growing up, they weren't thrilled with us during those seasons sometimes. Yeah. But I think the key for me was when our oldest, got out on his own, and he made a comment to us like, I wish we would have gone fishing more. I wish we would have. And so, he's like, we played sports, and they did. But I think, oh my goodness, what would it have been like if we would have done because we didn't do the extra special teams. Yeah. Maybe two of them twice did, but never, and it wasn't like a legalistic thing either. It wasn't like, we're doing this because it's Sunday, we have to. No, because we want to, because we want to worship God. We want him to be priority. We want that to be what our family is shaped by.
Right. Yeah. I mean, with that, and we'll do this in a episode when we talk about marriage, but we said from the very beginning, even in our premarital counseling, it was very much, we wanted Christ at the center, and we wanted that to dictate everything else about our family. Mm-hmm. And so church, again, faith was a priority for us, and we made it. Not only did we work for a church, but we strived to make that church the community that we were a part of, and thus the kids became part of that community as well. What might be some things that, as a family, did we not do so well? And maybe we had the chance to go back and, have a do-over. What would be some things that we would choose as a do-over? I already said one of them that we totally failed at. Devotions.
Yeah. I wish we would have figured that out better. Yeah. I wish we would have intentionally read through the entire Bible with them. I think we put the Adventures in Odyssey CDs in, and they were great, and they told great Bible stories, but I do wish that we would have figured out, and I know that there are families that do it, and props to you all that can do it.
The people who read through like the Narnia series.
I know.
Like,
we started it. I would say,
we didn't finish.
What don't we do well? We didn't finish things well. That we started, things like that.
Yeah. And there were seasons when we did, like, we tried to sit down and do devos. And I remember we had different books, or we downloaded something from the internet, or Focus on the Family sent something. We're like, let's do it. And like, you sit down, and like you said earlier, like, chaos breaks out at the table and we're done. And
then we're mad at them and they're mad. And it's like, what is
it.
the point of this? This is not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Devos were never a rock solid thing, but we did do the things that, like, I do remember you reading not just stories before bed, but I do remember you reading Bible stories to the kids before bed. So where Devos never worked, we found what did work, and we went that way.
Yeah.
But yes, I would love to be the dad to say, oh, I read Narnia to all of my kids. Like, I hear that from different people at church, and I'm like, okay. Yeah. I suck as a dad. I didn't do that.
Not true, but yes, I agree. Like, they're definitely, when you play the comparison game, then
we always lose in the comparison game.
But I think,
yeah, I think another
I'm
thing,
sure there's plenty other things we didn't do well, and I'm sure we'll
if we had the kids on, they would tell us
share with
hundreds
maybe we will one day so they can share.
I know one thing that if we could roll back time, like, it took me a little while, like keeping tempers in check. Like, we had moments where, I think we were both pushed to the limits in some of those things.
Sure.
And I just remember, and the kids remember and talk about it all the time, the dinner where dad broke the table. We had one of the kids acting up and just being belligerent, and I was fed up. And I remember picking up the end of the table where I sat, lifting it high, slamming it on the ground, and the leg of the table. No, not one of my finest moments. Got everybody's attention, and all of a sudden things stopped, but it was not the best way to handle it. And I think in those times we do learn from that, and it is those moments where we're somewhat humbled, because that's not how we wanted to handle things.
Right.
But we let our anger, we let our temper, we let whatever it is boil up, and it happened. And there were probably multiple times where my best wasn't shown, and so as I think about what we didn't do well, like, hey, I think I've learned how to get my temper in check, but it took a little while. And one of the boys kept pushing the right button at the right time, and he always got me going. But yeah, I think that was one of those things that we didn't do so well there.
And I think when I look back on that too, like, why was he the one that pushed buttons or whatever? Like, did we miss something that wasn't being met for him? So I think about that. Yeah, probably. Sure. I mean, we're sinful human beings. Like, we're not perfect.
Well, they say hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah.
So you always Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, you do that with everything. Even as parents, you think back to the things that we've done, and was it the right thing to do? Could I have done it better? Could I have done it differently?
Yeah.
Was there something in it, like you're saying, that we were missing, and because of that, we handled something in a way that maybe we shouldn't have?
But I also look at them now, and I think of how God has used even our mistakes to shape them to be who they are, and I'm grateful for that. And I think of that in my own life, what God has used that wasn't the greatest situation, but it has shaped me to be who He's called me to be. So anyway.
So since we're talking more about how God shapes us, obviously Scripture plays a role in helping us understand what family is and how it looks. And so, as we think about some of the things that we wanted to see for our family, I know I go to Genesis chapter 1 and 2, like the creation stories where we see God roll out His intention for all things, from creation to the breathing life into the man, and the man becoming a living being, giving him the woman, and then bringing them together for one flesh, giving them the mandate to be fruitful and increase in number. And I think this is the place where we see God's idea of family kind of take form. And it wasn't much longer after they're cast out of the garden that we see the brokenness of the family. But I think at least in those early chapters in Genesis, we see what family could be. This beautiful picture of unity and love and togetherness. And I think that's, we often say that the garden is shalom. It's God's perfect peace. And so I think about that when we think about family, if that's the goal, are we striving for that? Have we reached that mark? Obviously we have not, because we're imperfect people, but I think that's still what we're striving for. We're longing for that shalom in our family. Is there a particular portion of scripture that you've always kind of been like, this is like, I know we have life verses when we think about like our own personal journey in faith, but is there a verse for you that kind of resonates? This has been what's at the heart of me being a mom.
Yeah, I don't know about the heart of, well, yeah, I guess this would be Deuteronomy 6, 4 through, I think it's 7. And it's also known as the Shema. It says, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And these words that I command you today shall be on your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise." And I think that is what, we've tried to do. Is take whatever opportunity, whether we were sitting in our house, whether we were walking by the way, riding in the van, because we had a minivan, multiple minivans. And when you lie down, like we tried our best to teach them to our kids.
Yeah. And I think that's a great verse to remind of, because even this past Sunday at church, I met with a group of parents, and really we use that verse as the foundation for what our role is as parents, much less what a family. Like that, it is our role to teach and to lead. And I like that we have in our family made it about when you're walking on the street, when you're lying down, when you're getting up, when you're doing life, you're doing faith.
I forgot the rest of that. It's 8 through 9 too. "You shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. You shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates." And I do think that is, we put scripture everywhere we could.
We did. House. I mean, that was another thing we probably could have said that you did well. Like you would open up a kitchen cabinet and there was scripture in it. You sometimes walked into the bathroom and there were sticky notes with scripture on them. Like there was Bible verses and scripture and not the cheesy Hobby Lobby stuff, but
well, some of them
legit like verses there. I know. I think about, for me, as the father, like I've always kind of resonated with Psalm 127. It talks about children being a heritage from the Lord, offspring, a reward from him, like arrows in the hands of a warrior, are children born in one's youth. Blessed is a man whose quiver is full of them. They will not be put to shame when they contend with their opponents in court. Like I've kind of always visioned, that the idea of the quiver being full. Like that's, we wanted a big family. Whatever God would send is what we would welcome. With just that idea that our kids they're not they're not an issue. They're not an extra. Like they're our kids, and God has given them to us. He's entrusted them to us, and they're a blessing. And parenting and family life is hard, but the blessing, like now we're in this season where we can look back and remember, and we can say, oh, these were such great times because, we've lived through them, and I look at our kids now and, to do hashtag, dad pride, like that would, or whatever it is, mom pride or proud mom or whatever it is that the kids are like, dad, never do that. But like you want to, like, because they do things that make you proud, and you want to celebrate those things, and you want the world to know, hey, this, like, it's been good. It's all shaping the way it's supposed to shape. But yeah, for me, that's that verse, and family being the blessing, family being from God, family being His intent and design for like community and relationship and just the workings out of what faith looks like and grace. Those are the things that I think kind of continue to resonate with me, as I think about family and our family in particular. What are some things, like if we could encourage families or a family, like someone were to come up to you and say, hey, what are your top 4, top 5 things that you would say to a young family? Mm-hmm. If we could come up with some, what would those 5 things be that we would say? We would encourage you to do this.
Yeah. I think number 1 is we made our marriage a priority. Yeah. No matter how many kids we had, we always found time for each other, even during the chaos of 5 little ones. It was, we would, by God's grace, he would provide people through the church that would say, hey, we'll watch your kids or whatever. Yeah. And we would take every advantage of that we could, just to continue to connect with each other and to make our kids see that was a priority to us, that they, and while we loved and adored all of them, they did not come before our marriage.
Yeah.
Number 1.
Yeah. No, and I think we did it. I mean, and there were seasons where we were better at it than we weren't because, again, when you have 5 and they're young, it is a little hard to navigate through babysitting and all those things. But, whether it was a date night where we went out or a weekend that we went away, or even just putting them to bed and then we have time for ourselves. Yeah. Like we made our relationship our top priority. Yeah. Because if we weren't healthy, then how does your family become healthy? Mm-hmm. I think the second thing that we would maybe say is make your family the next priority. Like marriage first, but then family. And by that, what I mean is that, that's what sets the precedent. What's best for your family, even though it may not be what all of those in your family want to do, but you have to think more broad to say that what is best. Is our one child playing AAU good for the whole family? Or is a child playing AAU and then travel baseball at the same time? Are those good for our family? And I think we've had to be careful and navigate and choose. Sometimes we had to say no to those things because for us as a family overall, it wasn't good. And so by making the priority what is best for our family, I think that helped us steer around some of those things. Would we have loved our kids to do more? Sure. Maybe if we had 2 kids, that would have been an easier thing to do. But with 5, and I was talking to somebody today, like the age span, our oldest and our youngest, there's 10, 11 years there. Yeah. So what works when you have an older who's 11 years older and then the younger, like who's just tagging along, sometimes you just have to put family first and think about what's important for the family. And I think that's even true of not just like when we think about sports and kids involvement. I think that's true of like everything that comes down the line. Like for as much as we wanted them to be part of church stuff, there were some times we had to say no to church stuff, like because it wasn't in line with what we were trying to do for the family. Or there were seasons where we didn't do vacations because for whatever reason, it wouldn't have been good for our family as a whole, whether it was financial or timing or whatever. Like you have to learn how to say no to certain things so you can say yes to other things.
Yeah. And I think the next thing is that we made church and faith a family priority together. Like, I think we already talked about this a little bit, but we went to church together, even though Jay often went before us because he worked at a church. But we showed up, we were there, and we worshiped together as much as we could. Yeah.
I remember sitting in the front row of St. Paul's with a very little Brea and a very little Asher. Yeah. And then the other 3 in tow down the pew. And every Sunday there we sat because we saw the importance of having our kids involved and in the worship service. And there was a time that they were in the nursery as well. But for the most part, our kids were with us in worship. We made that a priority. And again, I think it's a matter of learning how to say yes and no. Families, if you want to have a healthy family, you have to have healthy faith community. And so, you may have to make that commitment even when the kids don't want to. Like, take them to church. Take them to Sunday school. Take them to the kids' min. Take them to youth group.
You take them to school and they don't want to go.
They don't want to go to school, but we take them to school. Right. Why are we not taking them to church?
Right.
I think the other thing is rule your kids, don't let your kids rule you. And by what I mean by that is, Amy and I, we were the parents and we made the decisions for what we thought was best for our family and not our kids. And I think about this because we've moved so much. Like in my role as a youth pastor, we've had to go from one church to the next to not just advance a career, but there were many times that God called us to another ministry to serve. And that involved taking our kids away from what they knew and starting all over again. And if we had left it to our kids to make that decision, we probably would still be in our first church, like we wouldn't have moved. But, as parents, we are the ones that are charged with the responsibility of our kids, and we have to make the decisions that are best for our kids and not just turn them over to the kids. And the other thing I think about this way is not allowing your kid's schedule to dictate the family schedule. So just like making your family a priority and saying no to some of the things that may upset the family balance, allowing our kids to have those schedules where we are just out of control. Like I would say, you rule, you set the pace, you put the boundaries up, and don't allow those activities to dictate for you what family life looks like. Does that make sense? You want to take that last one?
The last one was just own your calendar, which we already kind of talked about a little bit.
Setting aside those.
Yeah. I remember going back to like the owning your calendar, that kind of stuff. And I remember thinking, but I want them to be involved in this, and I want them to be able to play the trumpet, and I want them to be able to play, musical instrument, and I want them to be able to, be well-rounded and all this kind of stuff. And I remember a wise woman from one of the churches was like, Amy, the Lord will raise up the skills that he wants them to have. And if they, and I'm sure people would push back on this and not agree with this, and that's okay. But yeah, if our kids are going to excel in being a trumpeter, I don't even know what to say, what that is. That's going to happen regardless of me, if that's God's plan for them. So yeah, we just had to say, kind of use wisdom as to what we were going to battle them on.
Yeah. Because I remember having that conversation.
Oh yeah.
Like at one point, each kid had to try an instrument, and just to see if it was something that was, and a couple of them tried multiple instruments.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it wasn't just an instrument. Like I think we had them do a couple, and it finally got to the point where they were like, we like sports.
Yeah.
We want to do sports. And I remember it was a big, like, one, it was a sad thing because we had to like, okay, so they're never going to play the piano or trumpet. We're not going to have that.
Right.
But at the same time, it was a freeing thing because like, okay, we don't have to do what we see everybody else doing.
Right.
We don't have to have the kid that's doing choir and the band and the sports and the clubs. Like if our kids just want to do this, it's okay.
Yeah.
Let them just do that. Yeah, no, for sure. So we're just about coming to the end of our time here. So how about some takeaways? Like even for us as our family, like what can we say either to someone else or for ourselves that, hey, these were some things that were maybe freeing and helpful. And we just want to leave these as the takeaway.
Yeah, I think for me, the thing that I learned the most, I mean, we believe that God is sovereign over all that we do. Then we believe that the kids that God gave to us are his creation for us. And it's not a mistake that God made those 5 children and put them in yours and my life.
Household.
This household, we were the ones that he wanted to have be their parents. And so that was very freeing when someone shared that with me a long time ago. And I thought, okay, so then that means that if I make mistakes, it's okay. God has that covered. And so there's both tips there. Like there's the fact that you can rest in that God is sovereign and he has planned your family exactly the way he wants, and that you are a human and you're going to make mistakes and you'll probably make a lot of them, just as we did, but there's grace and he covers that in his goodness. And so.
Well, and I think you said it, but I know you said it when we were prepping for this, that, you know, we have our children and we are the ones who are able to raise our kids.
Right.
Like you said that, and it's not the way that I just said it, but in that mindset of, like the night that I broke the table.
Yeah.
But it was the child that he had given us because
Yeah.
we were the ones to be his parent.
Right.
And
It's not a mistake.
It's not a mistake.
Random,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
act. It was by his design.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think the only other thing I would throw into that is just rest in grace.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when we fully and truly understand what grace is, like, it's such a freeing thing for us to know that when we do fall short, we do make those mistakes, there's grace. And God is sovereign, like you're saying. He's still in control. And even in our worst moments, he is at work to take those and make them good. And so I think we need, as parents, to give ourselves grace. And I think as family, we need to learn to live in the grace. And I know that's become a mantra for our household, just to live in the moment of grace. And I think that's something that, as a family, learn to embrace that, learn to live in that grace. So yeah, I hope this has been helpful. I hope this has been encouraging as we continue to share our own story and the things that God has taught us as a family. We really want to, encourage you to keep doing what you're doing as a family, because, it matters. What we do as parents, it matters for our kids. And sometimes when you're in the throes of it, it's hard to see those things. But I think we can look back now that most of our kids are adults. We can look back and say, okay, those challenges proved to be this. Those difficulties worked themselves out to show us this. And now we look at our kids, and it is a moment of pride. Like, we do want to say #ProudDad. It's just because we did it, and God's done it, and that's probably even better than us doing it. So yeah,
Probably.
Any final words?
I think it is
Probably.
better.
Yeah. I mean, we did a pretty good job. God probably did a pretty good job. So yeah, it's all good. It's all
I think
good.
it was all about him.
Yeah, I think it was all about him. Hey, thank you so much for watching listening. Thank you for listening to episode 2. Again, we are thrilled that you're taking time to listen to this. We are excited to continue to do this. And we want to entertain your questions. So if you have questions about parenting and family life, or what would we do in this situation? What did we do when this happened? Or just, advice for parenting, we'd love to hear your questions, and we'd love to have an opportunity to respond to them. So visit our website, lifeinthehighamhouse.com. We have a brand new page for our podcast where you can get more information on each episode, as well as resources and things that we will eventually bring up and talk about within each episode. But there you can also send us your questions. Just a quick little form there. Give us your name and an email and whatever your question is, and we'll do our best to bring those to an episode and try to answer them. Make sure you're visiting and following us on YouTube and our social media as we share more and more updates about the podcast and other things that are going on in our life. We would love for you to be a part of the conversation. So come pull up a chair and be with us at the table.
Thanks for joining us today in the Higham House. If you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to subscribe, share it with a friend, and join us again as we gather for more stories, laughter, and family life. Until then, may your home be filled with grace, joy, love, and Jesus.